The holographic display flickered as Commander Ju Park stared at Earth's newly assigned designation, Class 12 Deathworld. The Galactic Confederation representatives stood across the table, their slender forms and large eyes betraying their evolution on gentle worlds. "This classification is non-negotiable," stated Ambassador Trill, the lead diplomat. "Your gravity alone exceeds safe parameters by 30%, not to mention the atmospheric composition, temperature extremes, and biological hazards." Ju straightened her uniform. "So humanity is what? An evolutionary mistake." "Not a mistake, Commander Park. The curiosity. Species from Deathworlds are rare. You will be protected under Containment Protocol 7A. Later that evening, during the reception, Ju noticed 3 delegates standing apart from the others: a reptilian draconid, an arachnoid being, and a massive ursine creature. They watched her with unmistakable interest. The reptilian approached first. "I am Do-Yun of the Draconid territories. Like you, we evolved on what they call a hostile world." He gestured to his companions, as did Jimin of the Arachne and Taevong of the Ursan Collective. "We are kindred." Ju bowed slightly, a gesture of respect from her culture. The 3 aliens seemed surprised by this, but Do-Yun returned the bow after a moment. "They told us humans were aggressive and unpredictable," said Jimin, her voice clicking softly between words. Her 8 eyes blinked in sequence. "You seem neither." "First impressions can be misleading," Ju replied with a small smile. "But I prefer to start with respect rather than assumptions." Taeyong, the massive bear-like being, leaned closer. His breath smelled of honey and something metallic. "They have contained your people to your solar system, yes, just as they have done to ours for centuries." Ju nodded. "They call it protection. It feels more like a cage." "A gilded one, perhaps," Do-Yun said, his scaled skin catching the light as he moved. "They offer technology, medical advances, cultural exchange, but never the means to travel freely among the stars." A soft chime sounded, signaling the end of the reception's first hour. Around them, diplomats from dozens of worlds mingled, their voices a symphony of languages being automatically translated through small devices in their ears. The room sparkled with the finery of 1,000 cultures, yet Ju felt strangely disconnected from it all. "Come," Taeyong rumbled, "let us find somewhere quieter to talk." They moved to a small alcove partially hidden by decorative plants. Once settled, Jimin produced a small device that emitted a soft hum. "Privacy field," she explained. "Standard issue for Arachne diplomats. They cannot hear us now." "Our worlds are different in many ways," Do-Yun began, "but share key features: high gravity, extreme temperatures, aggressive life forms, atmospheric compositions that would kill most Confederation species. And yet we thrived," added Taeyong. "We adapted, we evolved." "Which terrifies them," Jimin continued. "Their bodies are fragile compared to ours, their reflexes slower, their senses duller." Ju considered this. "So Containment Protocol 7A isn't about protecting us. It's about protecting them," all 3 aliens said almost in unison. Ju felt a chill run down her spine. Earth only achieved spaceflight 80 years ago. We've been part of the Confederation for less than a decade. Are you saying this has been happening to your people for centuries?" said Taedong. "The Ursans have been contained for over 800 years. 600 for the Draconids," Do-Yun added. 412 for my people," Jimin finished. "Always with the same excuses, always with the same restrictions." Juwoo's mind raced. "But they shared technology with us. Medical advances, agricultural techniques. Carefully selected," Do-Yun said. "Notice they never share propulsion technology beyond your current capabilities. Weapons, advanced manufacturing methods. They share only what keeps you healthy, fed, and content within your cage," Taeyong rumbled. A server droid approached their alcove, but turned away as soon as it detected the privacy field. Ju watched it go, her thoughts troubled. There are others like us, Jimin said quietly. The Kelthers, the Nict, the Suveri, all from worlds the Confederation classifies as death worlds, all contained for their own protection, and all with physical advantages that would make them formidable if they ever chose to resist, Do-Yun added. Ju-woo looked at each of them in turn. Why are you telling me this? We've only just met. I'm a military officer, but I don't make policy for Earth. Taeyong's massive paw rested briefly on the table between them. Because something is changing in the galaxy, Commander Park. Something the Confederation fears more than they fear us. We've detected unusual movements of their fleets, Jimin said. Secret meetings, resources being diverted. And we believe, Do-Yun finished, that whatever threat they face might actually favor those from worlds like ours. An opportunity, Taeyong rumbled. For what? Ju asked. Freedom, Jimin answered simply. True freedom among the stars. The privacy field flickered slightly as a high-ranking Confederation official passed nearby. All four fell silent until he moved on. We need allies, Do-Yun said finally. And humans, despite your recent arrival on the galactic stage, have already shown remarkable adaptability. Watch, listen, learn who truly rules this Confederation, Taeyong advised. Then we will contact you again. How? Ju asked. Jimin extended one of her limbs, passing something small to Ju. It looked like an ordinary data crystal, the kind used throughout the galaxy. This contains nothing suspicious, the arachnoid being assured her, only cultural information about our worlds that any diplomat might receive. But when you are alone, place it in your personal console and say the word kindred. The privacy field dissolved as Jimin reclaimed her device. The four of them stood, now just another group of diplomats concluding a casual conversation at a reception. It was fascinating to learn about human diplomatic protocols. Commander Park, Do-Yun said loudly, for the benefit of any listeners, I look forward to our cultural exchange program. With nods and formal handshakes, they parted ways, melting back into the crowd of the reception. Ju clutched the data crystal tightly in her palm, her mind spinning with possibilities and dangers she had never considered before. The stars suddenly seemed both closer and more treacherous than ever. 3 weeks later, Ju found herself in an abandoned mining facility on Proxima IV with her new allies. What began as a diplomatic summit had turned into a disaster when security footage, clearly doctored, showed humans attacking Confederation officials. They've done this before, said Taeyong, his massive form hunched to fit the low ceiling. My people were similarly framed a century ago. Jimin's multiple limbs manipulated a holographic display. I've accessed restricted Confederation archives. Look at these planetary statistics. The data was clear. The ruling council species had all evolved on worlds with minimal environmental challenges. They had deliberate policies to restrict technology sharing with Deathworlder species, keeping them isolated and underdeveloped. It's fear, said Do-Yun. They fear what we might become. Then perhaps it's time to show them, Ju replied, determination hardening her voice. Not through violence, but through unity. Thus began the Death World Coalition, born of necessity and united by shared persecution. The mining facility creaked around them as ancient ventilation systems struggled to circulate air. Dust particles danced in the beams of emergency lighting. Ju paced the length of what had once been an operations center, now serving as their makeshift command post. The Confederation has issued arrest warrants for all of us, said Junho, Juwoo's second-in-command who had escaped with her. They're calling us terrorists. Earth's government is under pressure to denounce us. Will they? Asked Do-Yun. Ju stopped pacing. Not immediately. We have allies in the administration who know the footage was fake, but they can only stall for so long. Taeyong tapped his claws against a metal table. We need a plan. Hiding will only get us so far. We need proof, Jimin said, her multiple eyes blinking in sequence. Proof of the Confederation's true intentions. The door slid open, and two more figures entered. Minha of the Kelvers, her blue-tinged skin rippling with bioluminescent patterns, and Daehyun, representing the silicon-based Nict. Both had answered the emergency call sent through hidden channels after the summit disaster. "The situation is worse than we thought," Minha said, her voice melodic despite her grim expression. "The Confederation Council is voting tomorrow on new restrictions for all Class 10 and above worlds." "What kind of restrictions?" Ju asked. "Mandatory genetic monitoring. Permission required for any technological development beyond current levels. Increased Confederation peacekeeping forces in all our star systems," Daehyun answered, his crystalline body making soft chiming sounds as he moved. A heavy silence fell over the room. The implications were clear. This was not protection but subjugation. "How did you escape the summit, Commander Park?" Minha asked, changing the subject. Ju exchanged glances with Dohyun. The Draconids had a backup plan, a private ship and escape route. "We've maintained secret transportation networks for generations," Dohyun explained. "It's how we've managed limited contact between Deathworlder species despite the travel restrictions." Jimin moved to a corner of the room, her limbs working quickly to set up more equipment. "The Arachne contribute information networks. We've infiltrated many of the Confederation's communication systems over the centuries. The Ursans provide manufacturing," Taeyong added. "Small scale but advanced. We can build things the Confederation doesn't know about." "And what do humans bring to this alliance?" Daehyun asked, his tone neutral but curious. Junho stepped forward. "Innovation. Adaptability. We might be newcomers to the galactic stage, but humans have a talent for finding solutions others overlook." "And leadership," Dohyun added, nodding toward Ju. "The Confederation species might look down on what they call our aggressive instincts, but they fail to see how those instincts can be channeled constructively." Jimin's display suddenly expanded, filling the center of the room with a three-dimensional map of known space. "If we combine our resources, Draconid transportation, Arachne intelligence, Ursan manufacturing, Kelvor biotechnology, Nict computing, and human innovation, we have the beginnings of a true coalition. Not just hiding and surviving," Minha said, understanding dawning in her luminescent eyes, "but actively working to change our status in the galaxy." Ju walked to the center of the holographic display. "We need more than just resources. We need a vision, a purpose that goes beyond resistance." "Equality," Taeyong rumbled. "The right to develop on our own terms. Freedom to travel," Dohyun added. "Access to all technological knowledge," said Daehyun. "And most importantly," Jimin concluded, "recognition that our evolutionary paths aren't mistakes to be contained, but valuable adaptations to be respected." Ju nodded, feeling the sense of purpose solidify within her. "Then let's make it official, here and now." From her pocket, she produced a small metal object, a pin bearing Earth's symbol, a blue sphere with a single moon. "On Earth, alliances were once sealed with symbols," she explained, placing the pin on the table. "Something visible to show unity of purpose." Understanding her intent, Dohyun removed a scale-shaped emblem from his uniform. Taeyong contributed a claw-carved wooden token. Jimin added a silk-wrapped stone. Minha offered a vial of bioluminescent fluid, while Daehyun crystallized a small geometric shape on the spot. Junho recorded the moment as they arranged these symbols in a circle. "The Deathworld Coalition," Ju said formally. "Equal partners, shared knowledge, mutual defense, and a commitment to changing our place in the galaxy through unity rather than conflict." "It will be dangerous," Minha warned. "The Confederation has vast resources. They also have blind spots," Daehyun countered. "They don't truly understand how our minds work, how our bodies function. They underestimate us." "And that," said Taeyong with the Ursan equivalent of a smile, "will be their downfall." For the next several hours, they worked to establish their new alliance. Communication protocols were created using arachne encryption methods. Safe locations were identified across a dozen star systems, places where Confederation surveillance was minimal. Resources were cataloged and shared. As the facility's artificial day cycle dimmed toward evening, Jiwoo found herself standing alone at a viewport, looking out at the barren surface of Proxima IV. The planet had been abandoned after its mineral resources were depleted, deemed too harsh for comfortable habitation by Confederation standards. Yet another world too challenging for them, Do-Yun said, joining her at the window. But perfect for our needs. Do you think we can really do this? Jiwoo asked quietly. Change thousands of years of galactic prejudice. I think, Do-Yun replied, that they have never faced the combined determination of Deathworlders before. We have always been kept apart, our strength divided. That ends today. From the operations center behind them came the sounds of their growing alliance. Taeyong's deep laughter, Jimin's clicking language, Minha's musical voice, Daehyun's crystalline movements, and the steady, determined tones of Chunho organizing their first mission briefing. Today, Jiwoo agreed, turning away from the viewport with renewed determination. Everything changes. In the dimly lit research facility, Sunwoo Kim hunched over a mysterious data fragment, her expert eyes scanning the alien cellular structures. The room buzzed with tension as she shared her shocking discovery with her team. These weren't just ordinary cells. They were something far more sinister. Haijin, a sharp-eyed data analyst, revealed a disturbing truth. Centuries of records had been deliberately erased, with top-secret classifications hiding something massive. The team leaned in, their breath collective and quiet. These are harvesters, Sunwoo explained, her voice low and serious. They don't just invade planets, they consume entire biospheres. And here's the terrifying part. They specifically target worlds with conditions similar to Confederation planets. Do-Yun, always quick-minded, realized something crucial. Their own death worlds, planets so harsh and dangerous that most species couldn't survive, might actually be their unexpected protection. The very environments that made their worlds deadly to others could save them from these alien consumers. Suddenly, an alert pierced the silence. Haijin's face transformed, her eyes wide with alarm. Confederation forces have located our base on Lytton's moon, she announced. They're branding us terrorists. Jiwoo, their leader, didn't hesitate. Evacuate all non-essential personnel, she commanded. Everyone else, prepare for defense. Her voice carried a steely determination that left no room for doubt. The team understood what was at stake. They weren't just fighting for themselves, but potentially for the survival of multiple species against a threat most didn't even know existed. The harvesters were coming, and humanity's death-trapped planets might be the only thing standing between total galactic consumption and survival. As alarms blared and personnel rushed to their stations, a sense of grim anticipation filled the facility. The Confederation thought they were dealing with terrorists. They had no idea they were about to encounter something far more dangerous, humans who knew exactly what was hunting them and were prepared to fight back. The massive observation deck of the coalition vessel Freedom revealed a scene of total destruction. Harvester ships, huge and strangely organic, were destroying the Confederation's first fleet with terrifying speed. What should have been an epic battle turned into a one-sided massacre in mere minutes. Jiwoo watched with cold determination. 17 minutes, she said quietly. That's all it took to destroy their premier defense force. Minja, Earth's ambassador, stood beside her, looking shocked. The Confederation's arrogance was being brutally exposed. Their most powerful fleet had fallen like paper against these alien attackers. An emergency broadcast suddenly filled the ship's communication systems. Council President Sel was announcing evacuation procedures, but the message was cruel in its clarity. Only certain worlds would be saved. Billions of non-essential species were being left to die. Junsu, the communications officer, interrupted the tense silence. We're receiving a transmission from the Regelian Colonial Authority. They're requesting immediate help. Taeyong raised an eyebrow. The same Rigelians who voted to contain humans last year. His tone was skeptical. Jiwoo's response was immediate and unwavering. Doesn't matter. Plot and intercept course. All coalition ships prepare for battle. Hours later, the coalition forces formed a defensive line around vulnerable Rigelian transport ships. These were the same species who had recently rejected and feared humans. But now, humanity was their only hope. Jiwoo addressed her crew with powerful words that would later become legendary. Today we prove what Deathworlders truly are, she said, not through destruction, but protection. Even for those who feared us. The battle for survival had begun, with humanity standing as the unexpected guardians of species who had once dismissed them as dangerous and unpredictable. 1 year after the devastating Harvester attack, a new era of hope emerged. The GDS Harmony entered Earth's orbit, carrying a powerful symbol of unity. On its bridge stood Admiral Jiwoo Park and her diverse command staff, representatives from different worlds who had once been enemies, now united. Yeonji, the tactical officer, delivered promising news. The last Harvester fleet has been pushed back beyond the Cygnus Arm, she reported. We've established defense systems on 27 previously vulnerable worlds. Jiwoo studied the holographic display showing the new Galactic Alliance territories. This was more than just a military map. It represented a revolutionary new way of thinking. Species that were once separated by fear and prejudice now work together, their unique strengths combining to create something stronger than any individual civilization. Woojin from Communications interrupted the moment. Admiral, the Council is ready for your address. Jiwoo straightened her uniform and faced the camera. Her speech was short but powerful, capturing the essence of their incredible journey. She spoke about how the very differences that once divided them had become their greatest strength. Her final words would become legendary. We stand now not as separate worlds defined by our origins, but as a united front forged in crisis. The very traits once used to divide us have become our shared salvation. As her words spread across thousands of worlds, cheers erupted. Humanity and their fellow Deathworlders had transformed from outcasts to essential guardians of the galaxy. The tremendous cost of their survival had led to an unexpected and beautiful transformation. Jiwoo allowed herself a small smile. They had found their place among the stars, not as monsters or threats, but as protectors of a united future.